Is this thing on? Um, so I think it's time I talk about my deconversion story, right? So I'm currently in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I grew up in the Bible Belt. I live right next to a church over there. They do like neighborhood meetings and stuff like that. We don't usually talk to them, even though my parents are like heavily within like Christianity, but they're in like their 50s. And so, being Gen X on the older side, of course, they're not really caring about being in the community, considering they've always been in the community. Down the street, there's another church. And if you've been in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, or anywhere in the Bible Belt of your area, from the country to the city to the suburb, there's a church everywhere. And I also was a pastor's kid. We used to have our church for several years, and I was heavily within the church. Now, during 2021, 22, like in my early 20s, I started to really question the authenticity of God, right? I didn't heavily align myself with atheism because I just thought it was just one extreme to the next. It's either you believe in God, there's only one God, every other religion is demonic, or it is there is nothing. When you go, when you die, you don't get to see your loved ones. If your loved ones died painful deaths, if you lost somebody that was close to you at a young age, a lot of different things that unfortunately happen to a lot of people in our society. And then, next thing you know, you see somebody and you don't see him the next day, and then it's like even when you die you don't see him again. I didn't like that, right? So there was different sides of atheism that I understood, but then I was like, okay, you took it too far. Then there was different sides of Christianity and other religions that I liked in terms of the spirit world and reuniting with your loved ones, but then they took it too far. And so I decided that I was not atheist, but I was agnostic. Now, what led me to this? Well, I first came out as, gay, then bisexual, but really just a Fruit Loop. So I don't really care whatever you call me. I'm just not straight. And that's when I really questioned the authority of Christianity, due to the fact that it made no sense that we were putting so much emphasis on homosexuality. There's a lot of perverse things that heterosexual people have done. There's a lot of demonic things that people who are heterosexual have done, and it's documented very well. I mean, true crime alone is built off of, look at this straight white dude go and kill his family. Like, it's just, it's the cornerstone of the medium, of the industry. So when thinking about morality, when thinking about a lot of different things, I kind of was like, it makes no sense to be Christian, because I found out, and a lot of religious people will tell you this, that religion tries to do something that just can't really be done. And it tries to create a system that's perfect for measuring morality. But the problem with that is, what I've noticed is that morality is very difficult to measure when you are a complex human being. We are all multifaceted in our own way, and not everything is black and white. Quite literally. Not everything is, we got various different shades, various different things going on. And so not everything is as simple as this is good, this is bad, this is sinful, this isn't sinful, just do this and we'll all live happily ever after, right? Even the whole idea of repentance didn't make sense to me, because some people, there's a lot of people that would say, if, let's say, Hitler would ask for repentance, I'm still not wanting Hitler to go to heaven. I mean, he's done his thing. He did what he did. I don't understand. I feel like also being somebody who grew up in Christianity, creating horror content, I would always hear from my father, right, that if I would look at a horror movie, that it will open the gates of hell. Like, you're letting a spirit in. You're letting the devil in. The devil's coming in to kill, steal, and destroy. And I would always be annoyed by that, but I believed it, right? I was always scared of the dark as a kid. I was always scared of like different things. I was so scary as a kid. I was scared of my shadow, to the point where my dad was like, "That's your shadow. Stop. Like, come on now." And I would just be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'm tripping." But I was always somebody who was just a little bit on the fearful side. That's just me being honest with it, right? But even then, as I've grown and I got more into the horror medium, I got more into the genre, I was like, it actually doesn't make any sense to say that this is going to open the gates of hell, like this is going to let spirits in, because by that logic, just going out into the real world, you can allow spirits to come in, because there's so many different types of people, good and bad, that you can come in contact with, that can give you things, can manipulate you. It was a lot of religion is based off of fear, right? We're fearful of being taken. We're fearful of people coming to hurt us. We're fearful that things are going to really like damage us as people. And it's like a lot of the control, a lot of the different things that we have is in our hands, right? We have the ability to change things. We have the ability to have power. I'm not saying we're gods, but I'm saying that it seemingly is a luxury to put so much of the evils of the world onto spirits and demons and different dark deities and all of these other different types of spiritual apparatuses, instead of living with the fact that the people that are doing it are, well, people. And not everything is influenced by a spiritual darkness from beyond. Sometimes it's just the unfortunate reality of people who have different types of issues, right? And that's controversial in itself. But once I was studying the horror genre, once I was studying the horror medium, I was like, the most scary thing that ever existed, right? Looking at disturbing documentaries, looking at a lot of different types of events that have happened in real life. I mean, just scrolling through Twitter, I've seen people get shot. I've seen people get their head chopped off. I mean, we don't even talk about the accessibility of so many different things off of certain social media platforms. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's been documented. Some people have seen people get popped live streams. Some people have seen their own family get killed, seen a lot of stuff. Some people grew up in a lot of different types of awful situations, right? And so, what I assumed, or what I feel is the most horrific and the most demonic, is the tendencies of humanity. Yeah. And the tendencies of humanity is something that I think is more concerning than the devil, and then the doings of the spiritual realm and what they're doing, what God is doing, what the devil is doing. I'm going to say something else that's also controversial. I think God and the devil are both doing too much. Doing too much while also not doing enough. And we as human beings are kind of in the middle of a millennium long debate and argument, a family dispute, if you will, between a spoiled ass son and a narcissistic ass father. And so we, as the creation, the species that was created, are kind of just in the middle, just like, okay, doing our own thing. That's me, taking the lore or the history of the Bible, choosing to believe in it and saying, well, that's kind of where we're being placed at, as if I'm really looking at it from that angle. But also, one of the biggest things that, among all those other things that I said, one of the biggest things that I also made me deconvert from Christianity was this whole belief that everybody else is demonic. I find it to be disingenuous, and I find it funny enough because, especially when talking about the gay thing, the LGBT, the queerness of it all, that, Muslims would also join in and be like, yeah, homosexuals are wrong, homosexuals are demonic, yeah, homosexuals, yeah, everybody has smoke for homosexuals, right? Because it goes against nature, it goes against, the order, it goes against reproduction, from penis to vagina, it goes against the whole system of life. And so, because of that, you have to deal with the repercussions. But I find it so funny to me because it was one of those moments where I was like, oh, it's the enemy of my enemy is my friend, because Muslims in their own way have their own history of being very unfortunate towards queer people. Um, and it's funny because if we were going to follow the word of the, or we're going to follow the word, if we're going to follow the teachings of the Bible, a lot of those Muslims would be considered, people who are going to hell, right? They would not make it to the kingdom of heaven if they're worshiping Allah. Allah is not God. There's only one true God. That's just the teachings of the Bible. This is not something I believe. But it's very funny because if you are somebody who is ignorant towards that, or you're somebody who's so indulgent within, being aware of, well, I know for sure that this is demonic, I know for sure that this group is bad, and not dealing with your own type of issues, you will find a way to indulge in certain things like that, not understanding that the people that you're siding with also believe that you will not make it to the kingdom of heaven, also believe that you are not on the right side of history, also believe that you are somebody who is lost or broken or maybe misguided that you need to be put on part of my team, my clique. And that's just something that I just found very interesting in terms of how religion works. I don't think that religion is pointless. I don't think religion is a waste of time. I don't think religion is stupid. But I do think that sometimes people use religion to justify things they have no business justifying. That people use religion as a way to kind of avoid any type of accountability, any type of things that they have done. And it makes it seem like they're accountable because once they get caught, they say, Lord, forgive me. I was led astray. Please, Lord, Lord. But even then, that particular type of forgiveness, that particular type of understanding from the congregation is not extended upon certain people of certain lifestyles, of certain looks, of certain communities. You know, that is only extended towards certain people who have the particular type of upper hand in terms of the way that the religion is working, which is heterosexual men. You know, women, no. Gay men, no. Trans women, no. Gay woman, no. But the heterosexual man, he gets to be able to, you know, avoid any type of accountability. You know, if he cheats on his wife, you know, the congregation's upset, but we'll move on. You know, if he does some other stuff, you know, okay, the congregation's upset, but we move on. And the congregation, some of them act shocked, even though they know that pastor's been doing this for I don't know how long. But yeah, I also thought, you know, being somebody who is a Black American, being somebody who, uh, you know, I say I'm Black American, but also I've also had this conflict with Christianity because of the imagery of a white man, white supremacy, how Christianity even became something that the Black community has used as a religion for so long. I'm not judging anybody who does use Christianity or who worships, you know, or is in the religion that is Christianity. When people go through certain things, you know, there's people who were before me who were not as privileged as me to be able to even sit down and have a conversation or look at a phone and talk about things like this. You know, the only thing they did have was Christianity, unfortunately. You know, especially since they lost all the other different things they had. There was no other type of, you know, religion, and those religions that they did keep, like hoodoo, voodoo, and stuff like that, has been demonized because anything that is outside of the white supremacist religion, anything that's outside of Master Jesus is considered demonic. Now, you can be demonic and practice voodoo. You can be demonic and practice Buddhism and Hinduism. You can be demonic and be a witch. You can be demonic and do this. However, it's not because of the religion. It's because of your intention and who you are as a person. The same way that you can be a demonic person and be a Christian. That's why I'm saying, you know, I'm not going to be like, okay, all Christianity needs to go because there was these certain people who were Christians who did something demonic. No. But again, there's so many different factors of religion that I'm just like, I'm not really for. And I know I was rambling and this was a rambly video, but I just wanted to get that out there. So yeah, peace out.